Hello and welcome. I am at Galgorm Estate Golf Club, scene of the Northern Ireland Open on the Challenge Tour for the last number of years, and I'm delighted to be joined by ex-European Tour pro Gareth Maybin. I just wanted to start today, Gareth, by you giving the viewers just an insight into the work that you're doing up here.
Yeah, I've came on board at Galgorm and I'm now teaching up here and loving every minute of it.
And you're teaching a lot of kids, you know, you've told me about, and what are the kind of difficulties that you face?
Yeah, I think that's probably really where my passion lies is teaching the young kids, and I think one thing I've had to learn from starting to teach them is that a year or maybe even 6 months is a massive gap as a kid. So one thing I've noticed is you can't give them too much information, and a lot of the time you got to keep harping on about the same thing. So we always start with setup and getting them set up nicely, but that could take 2-3 months for that to bed in. Hearing my voice every time, doing the same thing, etc. And it also takes a number of lessons too. It's not like they can just come for one lesson every couple of months and expect to get better. I think a kid probably needs more lessons more regularly than an adult.
I imagine there'd be some attention span difficulties with kids that young as well. And of course you don't want to ruin the game for them, you want it to be fun as well.
Exactly, yeah, and I see a lot, I probably made this mistake too at the start where you give them something to work on and maybe at the end of the lesson you get them to write it down in a diary, but I've kind of really gone away from that, and I see a lot of other coaches maybe have clipboards and diaries out, and these kids go to school 5 days a week, 9 to 3. The last thing they want to be doing is coming for a golf lesson, which is fun, and wanting to get a diary out to write stuff down. So I really put a big emphasis on when they leave the teaching studio that they can verbally say back to me what they're trying to improve or what we've worked on throughout the lesson. And
you've told me there's one young kid you're particularly excited about.
Yeah, Parker Bowens. He's only 6 years old. I started, he came to me. It was actually a cool story. I do a Cash for Kids thing every Christmas for charity. So I give free lessons for 30 minutes, and all you have to do is bring a toy. And he was one of those kids who came, and he brought his toy, and we got on pretty well. And he's an energetic kid, but for his age, he's got an immense amount of ability.
Yeah, I was reading he won one of the young kids events at St Andrews as well. That's some experience for someone that young.
Yeah, he's played 12 events since I've started helping him, and he's won 10, and he lost 1 in a playoff. So he's got a pretty good record.
Yeah. Just moving on to your own career, Gareth, you won on the Challenge Tour in 2008.
That's right.
I was just wondering, at that time in particular, what your thoughts were on your future, and just your kind of dreams and hopes for the game thereafter.
Yeah, I think it all really started in America when I started getting pretty good. I went to college in America for 3 years and graduated, and then had a pretty good record as an amateur out there and won 9 times. Decided to turn pro. Played on a kind of like a third level tour called the Hooters Tour, and did really well out there for a couple of years. And then I got a few starts on the Challenge Tour, and I remember the very first tournament, I missed the cut. I made like a 9 on my 17th hole on the Friday. And it really, put things into perspective. It's a tough game at that level when you're playing for money, and really knuckled down. And next couple of weeks, got another couple of starts, and managed to get my full card through, I think, coming third in Wales. And then obviously you talked about the win in China, and I was fortunate enough, I won a really big Challenge Tour event, and it carried a lot of points, and straight away I got my card.
You managed to keep your card in the European Tour for a fair while after that, 4 or 5, 6 years on the trot, keeping your card, which is pretty good. And there's been plenty of great golfers down the years not been able to do that. Obviously injuries came along.
Yeah.
How difficult was that?
Yeah, it was tough. The injury definitely had a factor, but I wouldn't say it was the reason why I didn't keep my card. Probably the 2 years before I got injured, I was always really right on the bubble, 110, 109. And there was a couple of years there I did really well to keep my card. And then you start questioning yourself, well, am I good enough? Am I good enough? Yes, you were at one point, because 3 seconds at a really high level is good. But I think just as I got older and things changed, kids come along, everything kind of changed a little bit. But I wouldn't say my injury was a factor, but not the main factor.
I was watching an On the Ball podcast a number of weeks ago with Peter and Rory, and he was talking about how important it is to actually know when to retire, because presumably there's a bunch of golfers who either play their trade in the Challenge Tour, trying to get their card, or they're yo-yoing between the European Tour and the Challenge Tour, and spending a lot of money, no doubt. And how important is it to know when is the right time to retire?
Yeah, I think for some people it's massive. I think depending on the person, some guys just love playing golf, and maybe some guys are playing out there, and the thought of retiring, they wouldn't know what else to do. Well, I'm going to stop playing golf. What am I going to do now? Or maybe they can't do anything else, or they're not qualified in anything else. But even when I played golf, and I played at a pretty high level, I always had other stuff going on, whether it be playing football or doing other things. So yeah, I retired probably at the right time, but I also had other things to go to when I retired, which helped.
Right. And when you're on the tour itself, is it a lonely place? You don't hear an awful lot of stories about players and the social life and the social scene of it. Is it lonely, or is it a fun place to be?
Oh, it's fun. At that level, it's fun. When you're a kid, maybe 14, 15, 16, you're dreaming of having a tour card and playing the best golf course in the world with some of the best players in the world. It's a dream. But I think after a period of time, maybe 3-4 years of doing it, I played out there for 6-7 years. And I think after a period of time, it comes a little bit more like a job, and it can get a little bit lonely. I mean, a classic example is one of the last years I played, I was really struggling for my card. Needed to make the cut in Portugal to secure my card, missed the cut, which meant I had to go to Australia the next week. So I left for Australia on the Monday, didn't get there until the Tuesday. Played a practice round the Wednesday, played Thursday, Friday, missed the cut, and I was straight back on a flight home. So you're sitting back in economy and some lad snoring beside you, and you're like, I'd rather just be in my bed.
Yeah, you mentioned like you're flying in economy, and all, this is part of the tour that nobody really understands, nobody really knows. How much does it cost to fund yourself for a full year on the tour?
Yeah, everybody's a little bit different. Everybody has certain needs, and some of it's really expensive. No matter what level, it's expensive. I think probably when I played, you're looking at 80 grand a year, 70, 80 grand a year. I mean, you're paying a caddy $1,000 a week. Depending on where you're playing, your flights could be up to $1,000, and then you have accommodation and food and all that jazz.
So were you one of the ones who agreed a fee with your caddy before?
Yeah.
Or did he get a percentage? Or?
Well, pretty much everybody agrees a fee. So you pay them a standard fee for the week, may it be €1,000, £1,000 whatever, and then the thing that does vary is the percentage. So some people, top players, could be on like a flat 8. So no matter what their player makes, they make 8% of that. Whereas when I played, it was if I made a cut, the caddy got 5%, and then if I made top 10, the caddy would get 8%, and then if you won, they got 10%.
Just on the subject of money, I don't want to remind you about this, but I was reading in the Ballantines one year when you finished second, but you missed a 4-footer in the last that lipped out, cost you 46 grand. You know what I do? I'm a punter.
Yeah.
Poulter, for example, last year, his whole putt in the last cost me a lot of money. How much does that hurt?
It hurts more now, knowing the amount of hours I would have to teach to make a 46 grand. When you're playing golf, you don't really think about it. I don't know.
Like for someone around the bubble mark,
massive.
Obviously it's massive for your tour card, but not just for your tour card, financially for your future, and you're providing for your family, and presumably there's a lot of pressure.
Oh, definitely. But I wasn't really one of those people that really thought about money a lot in terms of when I was playing, because I always kind of looked at it like, well, I haven't finished the 72 holes yet. You get paid on what you do for 72 holes, and there's a lot of stuff happens within those 72 holes. So I don't think you can read too much into it just because it's on the 18th green or the last couple of holes, But 46 grand.
It does hurt, it's bound to hurt. You talk about being around the bubble mark. I've seen some golfers since, especially some Irish golfers close by, who have been like first alternate in the fields. Heading into the weekend where you don't book your flights and you don't plan your trip, but sometimes an injury to another player or whatever, you're in the field. How much of a gamble is that for some players to actually spend? Like presumably last minute flights cost a lot more. Sometimes you're going to the likes of China.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those gambles you have to take. I mean, if you have a chance to play in a tour event for, you're generally playing for around about a couple of million. I think you got to take the gamble, because it's not every day you get to have that chance. I remember I was second alternate for the Open, and I went knowing there was probably 1% chance I was going to get in, but it's the Open, you have to go, you know.
Yeah.
Even just to be around the environment, it's brilliant.
And for those starting out their careers now, say on the Challenge Tour and even below that, Dennis Pugh has been talking a lot on Twitter about how money isn't an object for whether golfers make it on the tour or not. He's saying that, you know, he's never come across a golfer who didn't make it because he didn't have the money, although there's a lot of golfers saying that, but he is of the opinion that if you're good enough, you'll always make it. How important is money at that kind of level in the game?
Yeah, I think the backing's definitely important, you know. I can't disagree with him there a little bit, you know. If not everybody is backed and not everybody has the funds, and there's probably some golfers that, you know, have ran out of money that are probably good enough, but they just haven't had that, you know, the period of time to show how good they can be. So yeah, backing's important. You need a bit. You don't need millions, you know what I mean? You don't need loads of money. You just need a wee bit to get you up and running.
Yeah, presumably, especially for young kids, it's very important, because we've read down the years, of course, what Rory McIlroy's parents did, and working, you know, 2 or 3 jobs at the one time to fund his trips, and no doubt guys like your teacher, young Parker, you know, they'll need a lot of backing to get onto the tour at the end of the day.
Yeah, they will, and you know, the amount of people have asked me, will Parker make it, or do this, or do that, you know, it's crazy. He's 6, you know what I mean? He's 6 years old, like, man, what could happen from now until he's 2021's a whole world, you know, a whole eternity. So yeah, no guarantee there, but you know, it would be a great thrill for me, and I'm sure for his parents and everybody involved with him, to see him push on.
And in 2012, I was reading you left your management company and started managing yourself. After, how difficult was that, and what kind of challenges did you face? Yeah,
I don't think it wasn't tough. You know, it's people do it all day. They go on EasyJet and book a flight. Some people go on a NetJets and book a flight. That wasn't me. But yeah, no, it's easy. Book a flight. I think as a young player coming out trying to make it, you know, trying to get on the European Tour, I think a management company is, I wouldn't say essential, but a great help, because they're the ones that can help you get starts. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't get your card at Q School, and all of a sudden you're playing, say, on a Hooters Tour or a Euro Pro Tour or whatever, and all of a sudden the management company calls you and say, well, okay, I can get you 3 starts, but you have to sign with us, or I can get you X amount of starts, but you sign with us, then I think it's a good opportunity you got to take.
And when you were on the tour, like when I study golf events from week to week, obviously, you know, I'm looking at certain golfers who can play well on certain types of courses, and often I'm surprised to see certain fields and courses and why some golfers aren't playing at this type of course. You know, for example, Cron in the mountains always suits straight hitters, the guys that can keep the ball in the straight and narrow. And did you pay a lot of attention when you were playing to the schedule and to the courses? Because often I think that some players just neglect that side.
Yeah, when I had full playing rights, I did. So if you have a card where you know you're pretty much going to get into everything, okay, so you finish inside the 110 or inside the number, then you can pretty much pick and choose your schedule, and it makes sense to do that. But I think sometimes when you don't have a full card, or you can't pick and choose your tournaments, then you got to go where you get in. You know, so if you get the opportunity to play, it might be on a wide open golf course, and you might be a short hitter, you still got to go and play. You know, it's another chance, it's another stepping stone. You just never know what comes out of the week.
I was reading just when I was doing some research, Dave Ramick caddied for you for, how long did he caddy for you for?
He caddied for me for probably 2 years on, and then on and off for another probably year.
Right. He of course has won majors.
Yeah,
I mean, he caddied for Elathabal when he won the Masters and many other major champions. How much of a difference was he to your game, and how much of a difference can a good caddy like that make?
Yeah, they can be a big factor, not all the time, but just that one moment. Say let's say you're coming down the last 9 holes and you're contention to win a tournament, and he pulls something out that maybe saves you 1 shot. Okay, like we were talking about money earlier on, that could be that 46 grand. You know what I'm saying? So a good one is definitely worth his weight in gold. And Dave, you know, he's obviously passed away now, and he became a really close friend, a good guy, you know, and he was my first ever caddy and helped me a lot and showed me a few little tricks of the trade, which was good. And he knew his way around all the places, and mostly all the bars.
Right. That's handy anyway. What were your thoughts on the McIlroy debacle in Abu Dhabi when he pulled him on the 18th green and said, standing about the white line on the walkway, costing 2 shots, and eventually the event, because he finished 1 shot behind Larazabal.
Yeah, I think rules are rules. You know what I mean? I don't think there can be a grey area.
Are some rules silly though?
I think they are, yes, but
they're beginning to kind of
mellow a little bit. That's
rules,
right. Yeah.
Like,
But I think what Dave's done there, he's seen that as the right thing to do, and in my opinion, he probably did the right thing. Yes, it's hard on.
I backed him, you see. So.
Why is that not surprising?
It hurts a lot more.
I know, and I'm sure if you probably asked Rory, he'd probably say no, maybe not at the time, but
he never seemed too happy about it. I thought.
Yeah, I know. Be interesting to see his opinion on that.
Talking about McIlroy, his caddy Harry Diamond on the bag now. Don't want to put you on the spot, but do you think he's good enough, and do you think there would be a change, and would he benefit from someone with a bit more experience in the bag?
It's hard to say. Different. I mean, why is nobody asked this question about DJ? DJ's got his brother on the back, so the best way to probably answer that question is, McIlroy's the one that needs to make the decision. Deep down, he'll know if he's happy or if he's not happy with having Harry in the bag, and at the minute, it looks like he's quite content to have him there. So, I think he's got to go with his gut instinct, really.
And what's your thoughts on Rory this last couple of years? He's definitely been it's been hard for him to get over the line in plenty of events, and he looks to me a bit just mentally unstable on the golf course at some crucial points.
Yeah, I mean, I often say, people come in here for lessons and stuff, and they're always talking about Rory and stuff because he's obviously one of our sporting stars, really. And a lot of time I think our expectations of Rory are so high because he came out hot and he continued it for a period of time. And I think it's maybe a little bit unfair to expect him to almost to win every week and get over the line every week. And I think there's a few things that probably changed, maybe in the last couple of years. There's been a higher quality of players. Our players have gotten better. Yeah. Your Justin Thomases, your Spieth, your DJs, they're all right there. He's up against that every week, and it's not like he's going and playing in Alfred Dunhill down in South Africa. His strength of schedule is as good as it gets, the best in the world. He doesn't play Mickey Mouse events or lower tier events. He plays the best events against the best players week in, week out.
A few years ago, like when he was winning, 3 or 4 majors in the space of a couple of years, you were thinking, he's on the Tiger trajectory. He could reach, 12, 13 majors. People were even talking about reaching Nicklaus's 18 majors. But, was it the field strength that just made that he grabbed an opportunity to win? But that being said, he's contended a lot of majors since that he hasn't won.
Yeah.
Back then he was winning them in style.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he was also probably a little bit younger then too. That probably didn't think as much about it. Not as technical. Kind of happier-go-lucky attitude. I think the longer you're in this game, and for me, that's the most impressive thing about Tiger. I mean, money doesn't come into it. There's only one thing he wants to do, and that's win a golf tournament every single time he tees up. And to have the longevity that he's had, yes, his last few years have been tough, but to still want to come out and still want to keep winning, just the desire levels through the roof with Tiger. And I don't know if any other player in the world has that nowadays.
And what about McIlroy's coach, Michael Bannon? Do you ever think that might change in the next couple of years?
Yeah, I think never say never. I think sometimes change is a good thing. Rory's obviously been with him for all his career, and they've done great things. So, I mean, it's up for him to make that decision. If he thinks that's run its course, which I don't know if it has, then he'll be the one they'll know at that time. He'll be the one that makes that decision. Very on the fence, aren't I?
Yeah. Would it ever be a goal of yours to coach tour golfers?
Yeah, I've worked with a few good players, since I started, and they're challenging to work with, because you got to give them a little bit more attention, and you got to put a little bit more preparation into the lesson, because at the end of the day, they're the ones playing for a living. you've came for a couple of lessons. At the end of the day, we're not going to put you on tour. And if you leave here and you go
Never seen ever. Come on.
But if you leave here and you go out and play on a Saturday and you don't really play that well, yes, you might say, oh, Gareth's no idea what he's doing. But those guys walk away and they might lose $2,000. You know what I'm saying? So when a good player comes in that's playing for a living, I definitely make sure I'm on the ball with him.
We're talking about Tiger and Rory there. Did you ever get a chance to play with them?
It's fun. It's a good story. A good one that because that tournament you were talking about, Abu Dhabi, I did really well in it one year. I think it was sitting 5th or 6th going into the weekend. And I got into the clubhouse on the Friday and I looked and Tiger was right beside my name. And I'm like, but McIlroy was just above it. So I was going to play one or two on the Saturday. And the draw came out and I'm playing with McIlroy, but I'm playing with McIlroy in front of Tiger. So we got played all his galleries, which was really, really cool. And I remember playing really well that day. It was quite windy. It's a tough golf course, high rough. I played really well. I shot 69, which is a good score on that day. And I came off the 18th green and McIlroy shot 65 and he just made it look effortless. I felt like I was off about 9.
I've chatted to you about Jordan Spieth. He's my favourite golfer in this modern era. I just think there's something really special about him. But there's an undercurrent out there at the minute. There's a lot of people talking that they think that he's been lucky so far and that he's starting to be found out. Obviously, we know he's a great putter and unsung. You know, he can hold putts from all sorts of places. But do you think he's been lucky this last number of years? It's
funny you say that because, I talk about teaching all those little kids and you say to them, who's your favourite golfer? The majority of them say Jordan Spieth, so he does have a little bit of something about him. Do I think he's been found out? Probably not, no. I don't, is he the best driver?
Well, maybe not found out, but maybe, Paul Kimmage asked the question in the big interview with McIlroy and Harrington, and they both believe that he's actually got another level to reach. He's that good that he can reach another level. Yeah,
I would agree with that. I think over the last year, he's never really been renowned for being a great driver of the ball. Putting's always been his strength, but I think over the last year, his putting probably hasn't been at the level that it was previous to that. Just like a Luke Donald, when he was number 1 in the world, I remember talking to his caddy, John McLaren, and he said, this guy doesn't miss. When he was number 1 in the world and he was on fire, he didn't miss. And now he's maybe not making as many putts as he once would. Putting's a huge factor in golf at that level. You see McIlroy, probably his weakness, is his putting. And if I could teach a little kid to be good at 2 things, it would be driving the ball and putting really, really well.
In the modern game, do you think anything should change? There's been a lot of talk about the likes of Koepka and even most recently in the tour, Cameron Champ looks like he's going to just totally bomb and dominate golf courses. And obviously a lot of courses kind of were Tiger-proofed back in the day, which historically just hasn't worked out well.
Yeah. Do
you think anything should or will change in the game with regards to clubs, balls?
At the minute, I don't think it should. I mean, it's fun to watch, isn't it? People hit the ball 340 and...
Is that what you like to watch?
Oh, definitely.
Personally, I don't.
I love it. Absolutely love it. I mean, these guys are, they're athletes now. Your Cameron Champs, your DJs, your McIlroys, Justin Rose. It's like, I keep going back to the kids, but, I'm teaching some of those kids from 11, 12, 13, but I also have them training as well. I'm giving them my advice on what I think they could be doing at that age to, push themselves on for maybe when they're 16, 17, 18, when they start lifting, they have good techniques for lifting and stuff. So
is that what time you would kind of start advising them on what to do in the gym, or from around 11 years of age, would it?
Yeah, I would say 13, 14, but nothing to do with lifting weight, just technique of how to squat or how to do simple things like that, improve their balance, their coordination and stuff, and mostly probably how to sequence their body in the right way.
And just finally, obviously we're in Galgorm and the Ballymena here, and they're sitting top of the Premiership at the minute, but your loyalties don't lie here. Linfield's just in behind.
Yes.
Who do you think's going to win the title this year?
I think Linfield, definitely. I think they've too much experience in that squad. But again, I mean, David Jeffries at Ballymena, he's got plenty of experience too. So, but definitely pulling for the Blues.
Nice one. Well, thanks very much for joining us today,
Thanks,
guys.
Niall. Cheers.
You.